You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast series and syndicating for the A-List Online. My name is Andrew Mackay-Smith. What follows on this edition of the podcast series is a conversation between myself and the legend, Max Cavalera. The reason for the conversation is to promote Max's brand new album under the Soulfly moniker. This one's called Ritual. Let's hear all about that and also what else Max has to say. Here we go.
Hello.
Hey Max, it's Andrew Mackay-Smith calling. How are you, mate?
Good. What's your name?
Andrew Mackay-Smith.
You're with the Scars and Guitars?
Spot on. That's me. Yep. That's me and the A-List
All right,
Online.
brother. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. So I think somebody called up when they weren't meant to. John texted me a little bit earlier, told me to give you a call about 10 minutes ago, so that was me bugging you on the phone there to call through. So apologies for that. I don't know what happened with the timing with somebody else there.
Oh, yeah, no problem, man. It's all good.
No worries, mate. All right, I'll kick things off because, mate, I've got to tell you, this is actually my third chat with you over the years, and I always look forward to a chat with Max Cavalera, it must be said. I think you're a legend, so I'll get that out of the way to begin with. But Ritual.
Sounds good, man.
Man, Ritual, I think it's your best album since your debut in 1998, so I'm not just saying that, because I think the 1998 album was an album that I truly enjoyed, so that's really saying something if I'm saying that Ritual's the best album since then. But the core reason that I'm really enjoying it is you aren't relying on yesteryear like a lot of artists do. You never rest on your laurels, Max, and this album proves it. You've assembled some high-quality, thoroughly modern thrash and groove metal cuts. So my question for you is this. Do you agree with what I've just said, and what's your take on the album?
First of all, thank you very much. It's real nice to hear that. It always makes you happy when you hear that people like, your work. But my take on this record is like I came in with a little bit of preconceived idea of what I wanted to do, and that's why we hired Josh Wilbur to be involved, trying to kind of capture a little bit of the stuff that was missing in the Soulfly sound in the last couple records, and continue my love for aggressive music, extreme music. So that's why when I was making the record, I was saying I'm making a tribal death thrash record, and I don't think that's too far from the truth how the album actually came out, because I think the album has extremely awesome tribal grooves together with extremely awesome, fast, aggressive death thrash metal moments. And what I think is interesting is that the power of the groove is almost as powerful as the death thrash elements, which is crazy, because I would assume that the death metal elements would have surpassed that. But if I listen to a song like Ritual, to me, that thing is just relentless, powerful hit in your face. It's great. It just, from the moment that you hear the Navajo chant with the guitar,
yep,
it's the war is on. It's time to go to war. So I feel that we really, by really kind of like trying to evoke these old feelings from the first record, especially the first record and Prophecy, which was the two that I like the most out of Soulfly's career. I think Ritual, is a combination between those two. A little bit of Chaos AD also in there,
Yep.
And even a little bit of Schizophrenia in like that Behind the
Nice.
Eyes. But in also with some new stuff like Blood on the Street felt great. Got a little bit of black metal in there. Feedback's got that Motorhead beginning. Motorhead vibe. It's cool. I think it's an entertaining record, but also kind of a serious record. Like some of the lyrics are really powerful about the corruption of the politics in the world. Some of the songs relate to spiritual things like Under Rapture and Demonize, and Summoning is about the tribes and the corruption of white people in the tribal system. And then you have that Behind the Eyes, which is like Cenobites and Hellraiser and the whole Clive Barker universe that is, to me, amazing. So it's crazy that in a same album that I do a song like Demonized, which is inspired a little bit by the Bible, with passages like the Seven Thunders. I'm also, influenced by Hellraiser and Cenobites in the same record.
Cool,
so
yeah.
I think that just shows how kind of open my mind works. I can go get influenced by the Bible or influenced by Hellraiser, and I think I make them work somehow. And I think that's cool. That says something about the record, that it's not your typical record that you hear every day. And I think that goes deep and shows people some more wild, different stuff that they don't hear every day. And on top of all that, we had the Navajos, recording with the Navajos, which was great. All that makes for a really interesting record, I think.
You mentioned quite a bit in there, and I'm going to focus on one to begin with, so the drumming. I actually think this is the finest drum performance of any Soulfly drummer, and I'm not just saying that because I know Zion's your son. He's really stepped up on this album, and I understand exactly what you're saying about the balance between the tribal grooves in the drumming and the thrash and death metal, even the black metal elements that you're talking about there. And look, I hope you don't mind me being forward in saying this. If I had any criticism of the Soulfly sound prior to Savages, prior to Zion arriving, it was that it was too reliant on busy percussion, which could overshadow some tremendous riffs that you were writing. I actually think you've found the perfect drummer, and who would have thought it'd be your own son, right underneath your fingertips, so to speak, your flesh and blood. He's the perfect foil for you as a musician, as a guitarist, so you must be very proud of his performance on this album.
I am, and I mean, the way I look at Zion, it's a bit like you look at those Soviet trainers that train their kids from birth, like, throw them in ice water and make them wrestle bears. A little bit like the MMA fighter Khabib, how his father trained him his whole life. I feel the same way about Zion. I've been training Zion from birth. I've been taking him on tour my whole life, and he'd been sleeping in guitar cases with Ozzy singing in the background, and be sat behind all the Soulfly drummers, sat behind Bill Ward, only just having all that knowledge, absorbed inside of him, and now finally it's paying off. I think maybe Savage was a premature for him. He wasn't quite ready yet. But I think it's cool because he grew in it. He grew with Soulfly, So Archangel, he already had done a lot better. And then I think Ritual, he kills it. I'm totally agree with you. Like, I couldn't be happier by his drumming. And on tour, man, like most of the people when we play now, they mostly talk about Zion's drumming, which is kind of like, I finish the show and I ask if they like the show. They just, Zion's drumming was great. They don't even talk about the show. They just talk about Zion, But yeah, I'm really extremely proud of it. And he was meant for this. I mean, his heartbeat opens Chaos AD, so it was like, he was born in this life.
That's right,
and
it does too, yeah.
Couldn't really be anywhere else or happen any other way. So I feel very proud, very happy. But I also think it's cool, like the story, like father and son playing together. That doesn't happen all the time, especially in metal. And it's a unique thing, it's a very unique thing, two generations together, I have my story, my generation. He has his generation, young blood coming in. But you're right. I mean, I can really, if I sit down with him with riffs, I can throw real cool riffs at him, and he play great stuff with it. So it's like I finally find somebody fun to play with. It's like really cool to throw ideas at him and see that he can make the best out of my ideas on the drums. And that's something that it's always been important. The drums always been important for my music, from the beginning, from the Sepultura days.
Yeah, agreed. It's an essential component to your sound. And look, I want to just take you back to one of the comments that you made. And I hope you don't mind me asking this question, because I'm really careful not to ask musicians for a position or to give an opinion about political matters. But since you brought it up, I hope you don't mind me asking the question. Of course, recently Brazil has had their general elections, and Jair Bolsonaro has been, I think he's been elected to president. I might be mistaken there, but I think he's won enough to actually form a government, at the very least, a minority government at least. So What's your take on that? Is that a good thing for Brazil, or would you prefer to reserve judgment?
Well, I'm not too familiar with this guy. I just kind of heard stories about it, and I know he got knifed down a little long ago. And he's kind of like the Trump of Brazil. That's what they're saying. And I mean, Trump is horrible. You know, he's horrible here in America, and I don't like what he's doing. You know, has no respect for women, and it like is raising this whole KKK Nazi mentality here in America. It's ugly. It's ugly here, man, right now. That's why, you know, some of the topics on the album, like Evil in Power, is about that. It's about even the comparison between Hitler and Trump kind of thing, you know. And I don't know, Brazil a lot of times imitates what other countries do, especially America. So I hope they're not making a mistake of imitating America in something that it should not be imitated, you know. Definitely not Trump. You know, you should not follow that guy's footsteps, you know. And, you know, we'll see what happens. But, you know, the problem with Brazil is almost like, no, it doesn't matter who's become president.
Yeah, it's like that
They're
in most
all gonna
places,
be fucking, they're all corrupt motherfuckers, and, you know, they don't care for the people. It's just how it is, man, you know. Like, nobody's good. Every president is shit. Everybody that comes becomes power, they just care for themselves and their own pockets. They don't care for the people. The people continue struggling, continue suffering, you know, and that's, it's been like that since I was a kid. I mean, I remember only one good president, Tancredo Neves, and they murdered the bastard, like, after one day that he wasn't president, you know. That just shows how kind of, it's like a mafia, you know. And it's everywhere, man. Here in the States, it's a mafia. It's not just Trump. It's the whole system, you know. The whole system, the whole thing is decrepit and corrupt and fucked up. That's why I'm glad I have nothing to do with politics, and I don't want it to do nothing with politics. And I want to be a metalhead because that's much better life.
Well, you're bloody good at being a metalhead and producing the music that you are, and I'll ask a question about the music again. There's one fellow that I would dearly love to see you collaborate with, and I had a chat to him last week, and he's a tremendous human being, and that's Peter Sandoval, who obviously chairs Terrorizer these days, but he was in Morbid Angel. Have you ever thought about doing a collaboration with Peter? Because you've done a lot of collaborations in the past. I know you've worked with David Vincent back in 2007, but would there ever be a possibility that you'd be willing to perhaps even do an album with Peter?
Yeah, of course. Pete's a great guy. You know, he's an awesome drummer. I mean, like the godfather of the blast beat. You know, probably I think kind of like the creator of the blast beat.
Yeah,
used to play with combat boots, which used to freak me out. You know, what the fuck? You know,
hard
combat boots, like drumming the shit out of the drums. I'm totally open, man. I want to do more things. I got this idea of doing different projects in the future. There's one that I want to do that's real heavy, that's really kind of like real extreme. I want to like satisfy my extreme part. I don't care if nobody likes it, if nobody buys it. You know, it doesn't matter to me. I just want to do it for myself. Another one I would like to do is kind of like a reggae metal dub kind of project. Also, again, I don't care if nobody likes it. So yeah, for sure. I mean, definitely, I would definitely love to do something with Pete. Pete's a great guy.
Because there was a lot of similarities that I found between Ritual and Caustic Attack, the most recent album from Terrorizer. I think I've got an advanced copy of these things, so I tend to listen to them a fair bit before they go out to the public. But I'd love to even see a tour between you guys. I think it'd be an awesome double bill. And here's the hint.
Yeah, I'm always been a Terrorizer fan, you know, and I haven't heard a new one yet, you know.
Oh, it's killer.
I'm
It's
curious.
great. Yeah.
I'm curious to hear. I'm a big metal fan, so I keep one eye open on all the releases. You know, I love the last Pig Destroyer, and you know, I've been really excited for the Outer Heaven album that's coming out Friday. That's a great death metal. I heard 4 songs already and blew me away. It's so good. But yeah, I can't wait to hear this Terrorizer. And who knows? Maybe we can come to Australia. It's like Soulfly Terrorizer.
That's what I was
Australian
thinking. That's exactly
great,
what I was
right?
hoping. Fingers crossed, mate, that happens. Indeed. Yeah.
I hope so, man. I hope so.
Hey, here's a statement that I'm going to wrap in a question, okay? So this is only my opinion, and I won't ask you to support or otherwise this opinion, but my feelings are that heavy metal fans are too enraptured with the past. They're not focused on the here and now and indeed the future. When you look at urban music or hip-hop or whatever it might be called, you see that artists like Drake and Kendrick Lamar, they're in the spotlight constantly because they're in the here and now. You don't see... There's a lot of reverence for, say, Run DMC and Sugar Hill Gang and all that sort of stuff, but they're not music that is constantly played on radio, for example, or on playlists, brand new playlists. But when it comes to metal, and I just focus this point here on the Download Festival that's coming to Australia next year, I think it is, we've got Judas Priest, Ozzy, Slayer. Now, I'm not saying these bands aren't legendary. They are absolutely legendary, like Sepultura and your work that you've done, legendary outfits. But I've noticed that there's this thing where like 15-year-old kids wear Judas Priest t-shirts, fair enough, but they're more enraptured with Judas Priest than they are with, say, the brand new Soulfly record or some of these wonderful artists that are coming through on the Nuclear Blast roster. For example, Northwood would be a really good, or Cadaver, or any one of these great bands that are coming through from Europe or North America there on the Nuclear Blast roster. So, mate, do you think that fans... Do you think they're open-minded enough to accept new styles, or do you think that they're potentially too focused on the past because that's the way the broader media sees heavy metal as a bit of a legacy genre?
That's a really good question, and I think, I have the kind of same feeling, like a little bit. Sometimes some fans are really close-minded, and they want to only hear old stuff, and they don't even want to give a chance to it new stuff. I'm totally open-minded, and I'm a huge fan of the new stuff, actually. But
likewise,
I totally love this new generation of bands coming up. Primitive Man and Gate Creeper and Dead Congregation. I love all of that, man. But I also love Judas Priest, of course. And Slayer and so on. But I wish there'd be more more open-minded like me. They'll be like, I'll go see Priest, but I also would like to go see something underground and be part of that also, scene, So I totally I kind of agree with you. I think there sometimes metal is kind of seen like this legacy thing. You have all these dinosaur bands, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's great. I'm becoming a dinosaur myself. But kind of like it's kind of cool to give, and that's kind of what we do. With our tours, we give a lot of chance to young bands like Full of Hell, Cannabis Corpse. We always take those Harm's Way. A lot of those young bands on tour, because we remember that we were given a chance. With Sepultura, we got, Pantera took us out, Ozzy took us out, Ministry took us out, and so we kind of remember we got to return the favor, and it's nice to do that, and it's really cool. And I think it's cool, especially when Soulfly mixed with death metal bands. It's really cool, man. We did a tour with Suffocation, it was amazing. We did a tour with Immolation, was great. We did a tour with Nile, amazing, And I really think it broadens it up. More people come to the show. If Nile was playing by themselves, it'll be just the real small death metal crowd. When they play with Soulfly, they get to play to a bigger crowd. And I think our fans kind of appreciate the Nile thing because it's brutal. They haven't seen kind of shit like that. It's a win-win. Everybody wins. It's a great thing. So I hope for more of that.
True words from one of the serious benefactors of heavy metal. I do mean that, mate. This is the third time I've had a conversation with you, and the first time we met, I won't ask you if you remember. I talked about this the last time we chatted, but I was in Los Angeles. I was one of the few long hairs that was around in the late '90s, and I bumped into you in the lobby of the Roosevelt. You were there with your family, and you very kindly took some time out away from your family to allow me to go and get a pen and paper very quickly to get an autograph from you. You're a damn good guy. I've never heard people that have met you have all got the same story, that you're so congenial and you're so grateful that you've got fans out there. So just thank you for doing what you've been doing, and I really hope to see you back in Australia, hopefully with Terrorizer on tour with Terrorizer sometime soon.
That would be great. And thanks again for enjoying the record. I really makes me very happy that you really like the album. And I want to thank all the Australian fans for being so great to me. Australia is one of my favorite places in the world. Got a lot of Max fans there, and they really love the shit. And I can't wait to be back. And like you say, hopefully we terrorize it. That would be amazing.
Indeed. All right, brother. Thank you very much again. Really appreciate it.
All right, man. Nice talking to you, okay?
Likewise, man. No worries. Catch ya.
All right.
Okay. Bye. You have been listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast series and syndicating for the A-List Online. My name's Andrew Mackay-Smith, and that was a conversation between myself and Max Cavalera. Thank you so much for listening.